Bon dia, imihotu. Here we are at DaTerra, which is a permaculture, sustainable, ecological place in Baucau, Timor-Leste. This is the entranceway, and I'm going to take you through and just talk a bit about it because it's a really interesting place. It was even somewhat inspiring, informative, and I'm really happy to support something like this. While I wander around, in and around, I'll just talk to you about what I know about it. Admittedly, I'm not an expert by any means, and lots probably that I will miss. But the general story that I received from Fernando, the guy who sort of runs it there, was really interesting. So, just over 10 years ago, they began to establish this place. It was an abandoned rice field before that. They wanted, Fernando had been coming to Timor for several years before the establishment of this place, and he wanted to get involved in something that was promoting, positive land use, sustainable land use, and something, to do with nature and all of that. So they found this place and they established DaTerra. All of these plants are organic and edible. Everything is edible, the plants, the flowers, the fruits. There's also a fish pond. There's animals there, ducks, rabbits, and all of these things are part of the ecological system that's created there. Also a big part of it is the air. This part you can see now is the kitchen communal area. Everybody who stays there eats together, and a lot of the food we ate there is all produced there, virtually all of it actually. And so you're looking around a different plantation of being ecological and sustainable. They're using all materials sourced from the site and from the area as much as is possible, which from what I could see, observe, is like most of it. It does have, electricity and that coming in from outside, but a lot of it is produced there. You can see here a lot of things are signed. They sell plants. Now the heirloom seeds, seed production and supply is all about maintaining and reviving and sustaining old varieties of trees, plants, fruits and vegetables, using the old seeds that are native to the area, which could of course all be but lost if they're not preserved. A lot of plants are supplied to different places around Timor from here as well, and it's also not only about the actual physical place itself and what they do there, but as much about inspiring and educating people who come and visit and stay, and they have school groups and other people from around Timor and tourists and travelers of course as well. And it's all about for Timorese people in particular, it's about promoting an alternative to, an alternative way of sustaining a living, of not surviving themselves, but also creating a living and doing something, basically replicating something like this. Now, for those outside of Timor, you may well have no idea about it, but Timorese people, while many being financially and often educationally poor, are often land and natural resource rich, meaning that they do have access to land and natural resources like this, and could potentially, with the right amount of education, motivation, an opportunity, can create this sort of thing themselves. So it's there as much to inspire and educate as much as produce food. I thought a really nice thing Fernando said about, especially concerning school groups coming and kids. He said something that I think is actually absolutely true. He said kids are naturally, when I say kids, I mean all of us, because we were all kids once, kids are naturally curious and love nature. They love to get their hands dirty. They love, growing things, planting things, and playing in nature. And this is as much about reconnecting and reconnecting them with that, giving them opportunity, especially kids being born and raised in urban environments. Now this here is the toilet building. It's composting toilet, ecological toilet, all right, using wood chips and sawdust to compact and help to break down the matter. So yeah, it's not using water, which is obviously, saving a lot of water. And interestingly, it's a really good method, because one thing that you'll notice is that there's no bad smell. I mean, you might assume that it would be really smelly and really bad, but it's not. It's barely smell anything, and that's just using wood chips and sawdust to break it down. So yep, all around here, different plants, and you got animal hutch there. They do have. There's an interesting story he also told about. I asked him, was there any predators or any sort of outside animals and pests you need to worry about? And he said, well, the only ongoing one is rats. He said rats are a problem. They come in and they were attacking the baby ducklings, and that was a problem. And the baby rabbits as well. The rats were attacking and eating them, and so they had to, unfortunately for that reason, they have to cage the rabbits and the ducks, especially the small ones. But there was another interesting story about there was a bamboo snake, a green viper, which is actually apparently quite dangerous, and that they were around in the area, quite a lot of them in the area, and that was fine. They just dealt with that. But then there was then a poisonous toad or a poisonous frog was also in the area, and the snakes ended up eating these frogs and ultimately killing themselves because these frogs were toxic. So that took care of the frog. The snakes took care of the frogs, and then the frogs took care of the snakes, if you know what I mean. So there isn't, neither of them are a problem now. But the rats is an ongoing one. I think we're approaching here, excuse me, we're approaching the communal party area, you might call it. People who are staying make a fire and they sit around and socialize. And in the kitchen area, like I already showed, people eat together, and they're eating food produced there and socializing together, people from around the world. So you could say it's a social project, it's a nature project, it's a food project, it's a permaculture sustainability project, education, all of these things all combined into one, which is, it's inspiring. I'll mention it again, the idea that we actually, kids especially, love nature. They love to get their hands dirty. This is when the kids come here. He made a comment. He said it was like a nice heartwarming thing, because kids would go back to school from visiting, and they'd write a story or write a recount, and they'd say things like, when I grow up, I want to be a farmer like Fernando. We giggled at that, but it's a nice sentiment. Like, the kids would really enjoy it. And yeah, so here we are, still in the communal area. It's amazing to think that only, I think it's between 10 and 12 years ago, this was just an abandoned rice field. All of this has grown, including, I don't do too many shots that go up, but there's some tall coconut and avocado trees, and there's some, those will probably no doubt be the oldest things that were planted there first. But yeah, all of this has been built in the last 10 years. There's a bit of an upshot. Yep, so there's fruit, vegetables, spices, tropical fruits as well. There's breadfruit, jackfruit, all sorts. The place to stay, there's sort of like bungalow huts. I think I'm going to show you here. Here we go. It's like a traditional materials used to make those. There's Ajahn sitting outside. Right. Yep. It's very simple, but totally effective. Simple and effective. Yeah. I think he said they had something like 300 visitors just last month alone. Now, we've had, like most of the world at the moment, lockdowns on and off. So there would have been a period there where it was probably pretty quiet. But we've been out of lockdown now for a couple of months, and obviously there's been a big drive. Now that sign there says that there's ducks inside this enclosure, right? And it said Manu Rade is in Teton. Teton is the local language of Timor, or the official the official local language. There are actually many local languages here. Curiously, Manu in Maori is bird, and Manu Rade in Teton is the ducks. So yeah, there's a lot of similarities actually between Teton and Maori and other Polynesian languages. So yeah, so just, you know, you can, it's I don't know what this exactly how big the whole area is. It's maybe a couple of acres or something. I'm terrible at judging space. It's probably a couple of acres in size. Another cool one, which I don't think I've shown yet, but maybe it's coming up, making ecological bricks. So there's all these suggestions and ideas for, you know, doing things in more sustainable ways. Here we go. Oh, the rabbit hutches are inside there, rabbit cages. Yeah. But where are we? Oh no, I walked past it. I might have shown it before and missed it while I was talking. Here's a bit of a schedule of tasks. It's all in Portuguese. Another good thing, of course, is Fernando himself is Portuguese, but the staff there, lovely staff working there are locals, so it's also an opportunity for locals to be involved in work. There's the name of the place, DaTerra, the main building, and then I'm going to show you, I think I'll pop over here again just to show you the fish. Yeah, there we go. So, you know, when you want to eat fish, you just get the net and take them out and have fresh fish. Right, there's a dormitory style room up here, which is for single people, or like a group room, a dormitory hostel style room. Of course, being in the tropics, it's never very cold, so you can have open spaces. The net's there, of course, for people to sleep in peace without being eaten alive by mosquitoes. It's actually, when we were there was hardly any mosquitoes at all anyway. Obviously, just in the wet season, though, it can get, you know, pretty humid, and so mosquitoes can be an issue. But yeah, this is here's some information. I just put some photos at the end here to show information about the place and the area. There's also a Seeds for Trees program going. I didn't find out a lot about it, I'll be honest. How to make an eco brick using, you know, bottles and plastic rubbish so that you can pack it in and make it tight. Then you can use it for building things. Seeds for Trees campaign. Buy a plant and you're planting trees. So it's like an exchange thing. These are different prices and lists of things that you can buy here. Some animals, of course, rabbits. And yeah, so I will put some links. I'll put some links in the description or whatever, and you know, to find out more. But great place to not only visit but support.